I think that's the working theory that we're moving forward with, that the legislative change would be necessary, but as Kip suggested, we should do some more community engagement and support before we move that forward.
I don't feel comfortable saying, you know, like I'm the end all be all answer to this. I think it needs to be a community has to talk about this. And if they want that, then I'm with it. But if not, then we'll go another route. I think
So
that's
I think where the Prudential Committee had some concerns was that nobody's opposed to cleaning up the water, and septic systems is the primary source of the nitrogen getting into the water, and we've learned PFAS, sodium perhaps, and other things. But nobody had any problem if we were spending money to fix a drain in a street, a public street, that's providing, you know, groundwater contamination as well. But in this case, we're actually talking about providing a private benefit to private homeowners to result in a public benefit to the water supply for all of us. And I think that that's the distinction that was being made.
Yeah. So, but I'll also say, doing this, I would believe that, you know, yes, it is a private benefit, it's a public benefit. It's also a private benefit. So if someone was to sell their property, then they're saying, hey, this is upgraded, so we can get X more money also. So it's a catch-22, but it's still, it's a little bit of a weighing balance, but I
there
mean,
may be a cost share involved potentially. I mean, there may be some costs that go to the homeowner, landscaping, final
Yes.
design, but the actual treatment mechanism, the intent here at least has been provide that support financially through the district, because that is really the public benefit, the water quality improvement.
Hypothetically, if we were to identify a failed septic system that had contaminated one of the wells, and we were in an emergency situation, what's our legal recourse? Is that a board of health? Would defer to the town?
That would be totally up to the Board of Health. We would have, that would go through, Board of Health. They would be the ones to go over.
Right.
They'd be the ones to board it.
The problem is in Katuah, we don't have failed septic systems. We have great septic systems. They put everything right down through the sand.
Well, I will mention that
That's the
the
problem.
Barnstable County Health Department, through their so-called Aquafund financing program, has recently redefined failing septic system, because historically it's been hydraulically failing, meaning it surfaces at the ground.
Floats around on the
But now
grass.
they're saying it doesn't comply with water quality standards. So in effect, that would be the case here.
Right.
These are systems within a drinking water supply area on a lot by lot basis. They don't comply with the drinking water standards. So I think we could make a case that they are failing, but I think we got to be careful with that as to how we approach that. And the other point, I guess, David, is that the impact here is not one system that's causing the problem, it's the cumulative impacts of all of these systems, which is why I think it makes sense to do this with public funds. Other questions, comments?
We don't have the fifth well up here at that because it's so a little bit, there's so little in Katuah. It's a different zone.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good point. There is a fifth well not on the maps, which goes into Mashpee and Sandwich, I think, maybe.
and here's another question. This is me not knowing, this is me being a bystander. Has there ever been even though it's different town, can we work with Mashpee on doing something like this? I mean, is there a way? I mean, if we're talking about, it is Santuit, all that, it's very intertwined. So if we were to work with Mashpee, would that benefit us? That's something that I don't know.
I've heard it floated as an option to get Katuah sewer faster. There's no opportunity to approach Mashpee or even the military preservation, but yeah, I mean, we've got issues with Santuit River and that's the border.
Sure.
So start your language, would that include it doesn't specifically say. In the district, it just says, private property owners
Within the wetland areas.
protecting wellhead areas.
So I think we can interpret that to include the fifth well.
Yeah.
And include the, residents in Mashpee that contribute to that well number 5.
Right.
Yeah,
So I think, again, that's something even that we could go ahead and put into vote. I mean, if they're willing, if we're willing to do this, I mean. Again, our community needs to be able to, it needs to be, the most important thing is all of us talking, communicating with each other, saying, hey, this yay, nay, whatever.
Chris, you say something?
No, I mean, that's right, you got the idea there. We're not a dictatorship here or anything like that. Definitely would want to bring a great idea, bring it to the public, but then help you decide. Everybody get the facts of it and everything else. This is what it is. I don't know about. I mean, you're talking about Canaan and Mashpee. I can tell you that directly north of State 5 is an actual treatment facility, and as you know, Stratford
Right,
Ponds.
yeah,
So we get a report on that of what they're injecting into the ground every month.
right.
So beyond that, I don't know how far you want to go, and then you're really into another town, not another village or anything like that, so. I don't know what that would take, if it even be more.
Gotcha. Are there public comments on this? Thoughts?
Hi, my name is Ted Watercliff from Captain Falls Road, former water commissioner and former chairman of the board of water commissioners. I think you guys are in the right place, but I think we're running down a rocky road that's already to be worked on. You have what's called the comprehensive wastewater management plan by the town already taking place. They're in a 2-year study right now, presently. So, and just recently, within the last 2 weeks, they changed the permit process to 20 years, not 40 years, to make that 75% no nitrogen. But I think your job is not to create something that we're going to have to service and you do water. Your job, which you've already done, which is fantastic, is to take this plan that you have right here and get over there and get in front of the comprehensive water waste management people and identify it so that the town has these critical areas of concern and they now put them in their plan. I don't know if you guys plan on doing it, but I personally didn't like phone calls on the weekends. But if you put in 30 or 40 systems and they don't work, which one of you three is going to be on the phone over the next month and a half? They answer those calls. What happens to them? What happens, Scott? I thought good, Scott, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I haven't been back to a meeting since this.
Yeah.
But this is important. You're getting ready to spend the district money and you don't need to.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the comment.
Well, I'm not that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did just for the.
Is Chris,
He said he's not done.
is Chris going to be qualified to answer the questions on a daily basis when you're not around? And what if something happens to you? Which one of us is going to do that? None of us. You already can get money from the town of Barnstable. They're in a 2-year study right now. They're going to have this accomplished. If you get this information to them, they'll have it accomplished before you can put it in front of the voters and you can get it voted in.
To have what,
It'll already be doable.
to have what accomplished, are they based on this little scheme, they're gonna extend the sewer another 5 miles?
They're still trying to decide if we're going to be IAs or sewer. They haven't made that decision yet.
I'll just mention for information, thank you, great comment, questions. I did speak with the DPW, Rob Steen, about this, and you're right, this is part of the long-term sewer plan. I think it's fair to say that it's uncertain as to when this is all gonna happen, if it's gonna happen, and if the town can find the money. That's not my words, that's
Right.
the town's money. So Rob mentioned that this plan would probably be much more cost-effective, replacing individual systems rather than building a sewer in the whole area. He mentioned to me that the pump station alone would cost more than replacing the number of systems.
So let me ask you this, is this going to be an RFP or a bid?
Sorry?
Is this going to be an RFP or a bid? Who's the system you're going to use, and is it going to be proprietary?
I don't think we've gotten into exactly how the financing would happen.
That's important.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of
If it's
detail.
proprietary, your costs are going to go right to the roof.
Yeah,
If you do as an RFP, we won't know what's the cost you.
Yeah,
You're gonna put it out as an RFP and you're gonna get what you want, a system that you're gonna open up another envelope that tells you how much money it's gonna cost.
right.
This is
Patty,
a bad road.
Patty, do you have a comment next?
Thank you. My name is Patty Bigler. First, I do see a public benefit to this, and I think specifically targeting the systems that are impacting drinking water makes some sense. And I just wanted to add that there are ways of structuring this where if the district providing a subsidy, say, or just the technical components of the system that will actually remove nitrogen, then you can have an independent contractor responsible for those. And you're not gonna be getting calls on the weekend, the contractor.
Somebody else had their hand up? No. Yeah, please.
This IA in regards to storage better.
What does IA mean? It means innovative and alternative septic systems. This Mass DEP has a regulation that permits there's a new systems to be developed that remove more pollutants than a standard Title V system. And there's actually a new generation of systems that we're referring to as enhanced INA systems that do even better. And that these systems have very good performance data. The new Title V regulations recognize it. They call them best available nitrogen technology. There is some good cost information now, the average cost,
That's one's like composting technology or
composting.
what does the town recommend for these ways? Chemically based system or compost?
Yeah, I didn't hear all of that. I'm sorry.
What kind of sounds, it compost based?
Yeah.
Or chemical based?
Yeah, so composting, the way that towns are typically dealing with this is to set a standard to allow different technologies to come forward. And the standard is usually 10 milligrams per liter. That's the number that's in the new Title V regulations. Composting toilets would meet that. A urine diversion toilet would meet that. And then there's two commercial INA technologies, Nitro and Nitrex, that do meet that. So this would be up to the homeowner. There are some homeowners in Katuitt here that have composting toilets, which frankly work the best. Yeah.
But it sounds like it. I mean, that's I've heard about it.
Yeah.
Sounds like that might be better.
I think my thought would be to leave it up to the homeowner to decide on which technology they would like to install.
And I know this is like. This has been an 11-year debate around. Is there any chance that these people could maybe when they're about to draw a system and then we need town funds, if we would have a like full student council would put in as an alternative? Just, not that I am a dissenting vote there, but that could be a dissenter's argument.
Yeah, I think with the types of monies that we're talking about here, based on the number of properties, is a drop in the bucket for the sewer extension 5 miles west. And I don't see it, and not in my kids' lifetimes, frankly. But I think what we're talking about is just providing the framework, which we don't have at this point, by enacting an amendment to the enabling legislation. So that right now we have conversation stoppers. We can't even talk about this. What Scott is proposing is a conversation starter. And we will have that discussion between now and May, have a vote by the district voters in Katuitt. So Kip has some.
But I'll also say, I mean, he brought up a great point. I mean, if the town is saying, hey, listen, if we're meeting our goal without Katuitt having to do what they're doing, even though we are playing a little bit of roulette there, saying, okay, we can take a chance. I mean, the town really does not know how much is going into the waterways in Katuitt. So if we don't do anything and we're still polluting our wells, then, it could still hurt us that way. So, yeah, but if the town says, hey, we don't see that happening, that's true, maybe, but again, this is being a proactive, making sure that there's no way that this happens. So, I mean, like I said, it's a way game, and which which way would you like to look at it? Do you want to look at it? Well, I'd rather be, perfect example, the town of Barnstable now, instead of waiting for the snow to come down, oh, we got 6 inches of snow, we gotta push 6 inches of snow. Now what they do is they pre-treat the road and, there may be 6 or 8 inches of snow on the grass, but on the street, there's only 4 inches of snow, so it doesn't make as much pushing that's gonna happen. You're not working as hard, the machinery is now taking so long to move the snow off the road. So it's one of those, which way do you want to think about it? Do you want to be proactive or reactive? So,
We have the opportunity to make an investment or not make an investment, but there's already been an investment made, millions of dollars. And I don't know how many engineers, and experts are doing this. I mean, I can't tell you the number of GHD, you name them all, they're making all the decisions right now about this. It's not costing us anything.
gotcha.
There's no reason for us to put out the money from our neighborhood to do this if they're already gonna do it. You should be right there. You wanna help us. You need to be at those meetings and be installing everything that you know. You're smart. Scott, you know what you're doing. You
Thank you.
understand the
Thank you.
program. Help them make a decision on these IAs.
Yeah.
Don't let them make a decision on the IAs based on what maybe somebody else did. You get what you want. But
Yeah.
right now, we're aiming for proprietary, and that's not gonna get it.
Well, a couple of points. First of all, to your point out here, the legislation that we currently have is written in the 1950s. 30s, thank you. So what we're talking about is called source water protection. This is a national program that EPA has generated. And the idea is an ounce of preventions costs a lot less than pounds of, restoration later. And there are all kinds of case studies. One of the best one in the country is New York City. They've saved literally billions of dollars by not waiting for the treatment and going out into the watershed and fixing things. So there's plenty of evidence that this is a good way to go. Our legislation doesn't allow us to do that.
Gotcha.
So when I spoke to Kip, I said, shouldn't we be in the business of being able to protect our water in a cost-effective way if we believe that to be the case? So that's kind of my starting point. But again, I do think your suggestion is a very good one to have a conversation about this, because we all know there's a lot of misinformation, and unfortunately, there's even worse disinformation out there, which is confusing people. Sure. So we need to talk about this and explain it. These systems we're proposing are about half the cost of sewering. In this case, much less, because we're talking about targeting certain areas, whereas to do a sewer, you wouldn't do a sewer in each one of these areas. You'd sewer the whole area. So the cost would be much less than half. But comparing the two.
But yes, but it's individually, you're talking, I mean, it's still going up. And septic wise, you're talking, I think it's $25,000 one way, but
Right.
now doing it the new way, you're
Right.
talking 35.
That's right. That's right.
So.
And the
so
town
you-
sewering, the town sewering is about 120,000 per parcel. And again, they wouldn't target just these parcels. They do everything here.
Yeah,
So the comparative, my guess would be about a 4-to-1, 5-to-1.
but I'm also gonna be,
Typically, that's a flip. When it starts in the beginning, it's lower, but when it gets to the end, it has to be redone or readdressed, flips. So it no longer becomes an advantage, it becomes a disadvantage.
but I'll also say, there's an idea of, let's say, okay, then you're checking all these various houses in this area. And you notice, okay, my system is, let's say it's my house is, the system is 30 years old. Well, 30 years old, I'm probably gonna need something done sooner than later. So then I would go ahead and get a new upgraded system.
But the way it works right now is people are putting in a replacement system that doesn't provide an additional treatment. They spend $25,000 to put in a new Title V, putting one of these at 35 or 40,000. We're getting that extra benefit. Right now, our town does not have a regulation requiring that. Other towns like Tisbury on the Vineyard where I'm working does require that, because they're seeing it's much more cost effective to fix this when, as you're saying, a homeowner has to do something. Why not upgrade then and make this more cost effective?
And I will say that if we, if you were to go ahead and get your house done.
Yeah.
And making sure that it's energy efficient, all this stuff. you get a lot of kickbacks, so, oh, geez, it will only cost me, yes, I may have to pay upfront this, but you can get a rebate of this later. So
Right.
it might benefit us to,
Yeah.
again,
And there is-
it's good it's a good talking point, and it's good for all of us to, again, to know what we have and know what know what you have in your home. You know, I mean, we're playing, in a way, it's playing rummy.
Yeah.
We're playing gin,
Yeah.
and if you know what you have in your hand, then you can at least say, I got this, and I'm willing to do X, or I'm not willing to do Y.
Well, I guess I'd like to move towards, to the commissioners, what our next move is here.
Well,
I have one small more.
Yes,
question. I don't
yes.
have the answer. I have one more question. If we get to the point where, the IH are not approved, and they want this to be totally, on the sewer system, what happens to without knowing the number, maybe 30 or 40? What happens to those 30 or 40 investments that we have when they come back around to us and tell us we decided no on the individuals and we're gonna sewer everything? And they can do that. I think they can.
I suppose that is a
I'm worried
possibility.
about that.
That is,
My question is that the comprehensive wastewater management plan that the town has produced. First of all, we don't know if DEP is going to accept that as for the watershed permit, is that correct?
I was gonna ask that question.
And then the other question is, it's all related to nitrogen sensitive embayments like at Dewitt Bay. It has nothing to do with protecting our water supply, is that correct?
And
No,
the focus is on the estuaries, but they do have components on the drinking water supply as well. In fact, this area was identified for sewer for this reason, but at a incredibly more expensive route. And again, the DPW recognizes that if we can do this, we're going to save people a ton of money. But our legislation doesn't allow us. So without the legislation, we need to spend more money to do something that's
I
unnecessary.
think the pushback too in the town is for sewer. I think
Yeah, that's been a pushback Cape wide, and as Patty knows.
they want out underneath that possibility of the individual unit CIS.
The Cape towns have been proposing sewering for 50 years.
Yes.
And
We should have done it then.
less than 10%
Would cost a hell of a lot less.
That's what it paid for.
less than 10% of the sewer plans have been implemented.
And honestly, guys, I mean, Cape Cod, and we've never had infrastructure, ever
Yeah.
had infrastructure. Now, all of a sudden, with all the Russian, how many households there are now?
Yeah.
I mean, cheap is, of course, it's gonna cost more money, and there's a lot of people that wanna do, don't wanna do.
When you start, to walk across the green mountain on the bays, it's a big change there.
Yes.
Driving your $1 million boat with this stuff that gets stuck in the
You
side.
can almost do that now.
Hopefully, no. I know, it's serious business.
Which also suggests to me that time is a factor here.
Yeah.
And right now, the CWMP says 20, it said 60 years, they cut it to 30, now they're cutting it to 20. I don't know anybody here would like to bet on whether it gets implemented or not. I will take that bet. I'm an optimist in most cases, but I would be happy to take that bet. I don't think it's going to happen. There's a whole bunch of hurdles that I don't see being resolved. The big one is money at 120 grand per household, and that price is going to go up. I don't know that we can afford that. We have an affordable housing issue here.
Yeah.
Add 120K, make it 150K at a few years. What's that going to do to housing prices on Cape Cod? We can do this for 30 or 40K. Why wouldn't we do that? That's the part that just doesn't get me. So anyways, I would like to talk about next steps forward. We got a lot on the agenda here. We appreciate the discussion. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. We want to stay, hold on, stay a minute. We want to wrap this up. We want to make sure you're on board with us. But commissioners, what do we do for next steps? I think Kip has suggested more community engagement before we go forward with the legislation. How would you like to proceed?
I mean, we know that community engagement means the same 20 people who show up at civic association meetings.
So we have to do it differently.
So we have to do it differently, and the only fair way to do that is through the district meeting, which is the 20 people plus another 20 people in Brandon's.
Or can we do a mail out? Do a mail out and let.
I don't think you could address the issues of a mail out. I think you have to explore it through this kind of give and take.
Well,
Not sure.
try to do solar rate.
You could do
it. Get a lot more people.
Are you gonna do it in the wrong place?
That's right. You gotta make a big splash, right?
They're all gonna be here.
Yeah, that's true. But I think that, obviously we can have soft rollout through civic association, more meetings like this at the
Yeah,
water
yeah.
commission. We attracted 4 different people today. That's great.
That's great, yeah. These are
And
records.
I think, talking to, going, leaving paperwork or whatever at the market and, at the Hoe, trying to get people to read, listen to, hey, we're gonna having weekly meetings. So that we can get different people.
Well, we're not gonna have weekly meetings on this.
Sorry,
Weekly.
monthly.
Is there an educational sheet that you can
I'm sorry?
have? Is there an educational sheet?
Yeah, we need to start producing
Yeah,
some
yeah,
material.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's what it
yeah.
is. And talk to people
Yeah,
about it, and engage them and try to pull them in.
Does Little River Estates and the Commons, do they have a homeowners association?
They do.
Yes,
That meets and,
I know the Meredith Circle does,
yeah,
because I think one of our employees might still belong to it, he used to live in there.
Oh, they don't have a homeowners association. That's a Facebook group.
Oh,
Okay.
oh, we can go through them too.
So I know that when I worked for the town of Barnstable, I paved that whole area.
Yes.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
that's where some of our test wells for this study came from, because you came over and
Right.
put the water boxes on top of it. You found them and said, what do you want to do with these? And we
Yes.
put them in, so we can still get them. So thank you very much.
I mean, that's what it's about, really knowing what we have on the ground, and if we can communicate to everybody, I think that is so important.
I think it's important to make sure that we get these ideas to this commission and they know what we're trying to do. Don't get cut out. Because if we don't get this from the community, if you don't get this from the community, you don't want the town saying, well, they're doing it on their own. We're all set. We just let them go from their thing over there. We won't do anything. for them.
Right.
Yeah.
They like to do that. You better get you on water or it goes down the road.
I could see a funding formula of the homeowners, the town, Katuitt District. And who knows what else, 3 ways, at least 3 ways, maybe.
Yeah,
These meetings are open to get this in right now. We've got it's like a 1.5 year straight left.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you for this discussion. It's great. I don't think we need to make any decisions tonight, but this has been really helpful and we really appreciate you being here. Kip. Thank you so much, and we'll continue the dialogue on this.
Please, you guys know, you have my number.
Welcome to Katuitt.
Thank you. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. I hope everything goes well next week. On the phone.
So let me go back since we have some public members and thank you for being here. Thank you. I want to open now, go back. Yes. I want to go back to the first item and ask for any public input or comments. So on any other subject related to our work.
Oh, good. Don't know, but certainly know that this thing's gotta be.
Anybody else?
Make decisions on that one.
All right, well, thank you. So let's go to,
Next.
thank you very much. Let's go to,
Stop by more often.
review and approval of prior meeting minutes. We do have the meeting minutes from June 21st here. May I hear a motion for approval or edit?
I move, we approve the meeting minutes.
Is there a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Done. Okay, those are the only minutes we have. Chris, would you like to give us a water quality report, please?
Sure. This is the water quality sport. For June. Read it on July 27th. In June of 2022, we pumped 25,479,000 gallons of water. In June of 2023, this year, we pumped 23,074,000 gallons of water for a decrease of 2,405,000.
Wet Joan,
Let it rain, right. We had 3.54 inches in 22 and 4.39 in 23, so a little over 3/4 of an inch more this year. I think between that and the amount of private wells that we keep hearing going in, we're still getting, people calling.
We're up to 20, 25.
I'd say at least.
Okay,
So let's see, we'll go into a little bit about the association news. As I mentioned, there was a water fair coming up in Boston County, and JR and John both attended it over at Vaughan High School Tech. They went over there and they had a little fair with all-day class with 6 hours of training hours, everything else, and 15 minutes classes. They enjoyed themselves. New England Water Works has just put out a new out for in-person classes and Zoom meeting, Zoom classes. And they got a big conference coming up in Burlington, Vermont. This year, it's one of their like 142nd or something like that. But where they all get together and discuss all the stuff in the future, supposedly, not bad. As you know, Mass Water Works, I didn't send the last letter. I don't think the last update to you guys. It was more about golf events and stuff like that, so I have it in. So, but I will with the grant stuff comes up again and everything else, pass it right along to you. And Mass Rural Water, I talk to Lucy on every once in a while, and still calls up and stop by before the meeting last time. But he's still reminding me, if there's anything, give me a call, you want help? He says, I'll do it again and everything. You had a great time working with your students and stuff like that. And he also told me to bottle up our water and bring it to their water tasting up there in September. I'll bring it up, and I said, nah, I don't think so. I don't think we're gone the week before, something like that. I can't take 2 weeks in a row. But yeah.
Our Brewster and Dennis have won. Those.
Did they? Yeah, not when Bruce
Previous years.
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I remember that's when Paul was there.
And in Brewster, they have tank trucks that come and fill up in Brewster to deliver pool water in Provincetown.
Yeah,
It's like putting Perrier
Yeah.
in Provincetown pools. I
Yeah,
don't know how many pools are on Provincetown.
I'm so,
Yeah.
we did have one replacement service done over on Abbey Gate, was that yardly plastic. It's the kind of plastic they made in the 80s. We've got Teddy, so he can tell you about it. It got just brittle throughout the years. Whatever they built it with, they didn't put enough of one ingredient, and when we had a leak a few years back in the middle of the road, bubbled the road up. And they figured out that they saw it was yardly, and they told the lady, listen, you're probably gonna, if you ever do any work at the house, you're gonna want to replace going across here. It was a short service, so she called us up and had the whole thing replaced. On her own time, but in the past, we kind of felt bad for people that we sold bad plastic to, but now it's been over 20 years that she had it, so it was working at the time and everything, kind of the warranty was out of it. I have a contract for the increase of the water main over on Lewis Pond Road. Take a 2 inch, we're gonna put a 8-inch line going across on by hydrant and increase the 2 inch there. This is just to switch over the flow going back and forth. I have the contract, it's a good price. I went over, I had to switch a couple of things. They kind of go, as the gentleman said to me, it was through GHD, who does a lot of our work. And he said, you're gonna kind of realize you're not they're right there for the backside now. I says they never used to be the good side. So they went back and changed a few things like one of the things was whatever they produce, they own. So if they write plans, they own them. And they said, oh, no, why if you write plans that I'm paying you to write, I want them. And he's like, oh, well, don't worry, they switched everything around to do it on the plan and everything else. But I'll be signing that and getting that rolling so we can start getting bid out and they can write the package and everything else.
Do you need the commissioners to sign that contract or?
I don't need it, but I can if you want. I can have them switch it over.
I know sometimes.
Yeah, some things are bigger than others, yeah. This is just for the engineering services out of it. It's not that big. I think it's $15,000 for it. As you know, we postponed West Street being cleaned. I have a date, it's September 19th now, so if you see anybody out there, here the stuff cranking up over there, we don't run around the school property or anything like that, that's just some cleaning it around that. I haven't done too much with the PFAS litigation. I will just tell you that some people have already filed bankruptcy in there, and they have gone to a settlement with one of the larger companies, with probably the largest company that's out there, but they've had some delays on.
Is that 3M? 3M?
I think it's DuPont, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There were, I think what I read in the paper, there was just more than one class action suit.
Oh, yeah.
Against different companies. But I thought
Yeah, we said.
two of them got settled. I thought. So that'll be the ultimate trickle down when we see it.
How much money do we get?
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's funny though, because the last time you said that to me, I get something in the mail, and they're like, you know, for your eyes only, you know, this and that, and you told me, like, hey, I just saw it in the news, did you guys?
So tell Dave about MBTE here, though.
I remember,
Yeah.
We got $1 million.
big check, right?
Yeah, we went over $1 million, yeah.
Was that because of a specific gas station issue within the water
Yes.
district?
Yeah, you know, if you're thinking about the Arts Center now, the old
Yeah.
Mexico State.
Whoa.
Yeah, yep, yeah, you know, that gas station there. Had the MPD leak. And they had to put in reclamation into the ground and ran for like 3 or 4 years to clean it up in the backyard. And it was like 255-gallon drums that they ran everything through. It was amazing as it went. And it ended up cleaning it up, but we did have station 2 down for about a year. Yeah. That's why we got the money, because we couldn't pump it. And it never went over the threshold, but it teetered right at the edge, so that we chose to check it down.
Station 2,
Yeah.
that doesn't track.
Oh, good.
It's
Cancel.
down the,
Not on there?
oh, it's right here.
Yeah, so that would be this property. Well, tools over here.
Where's the property? The Kitswood Art Center, right there? So it's actually goes to this one. Yeah,
It would go more towards Ford.
yeah.
You shut down the wrong well.
You know, the other two didn't really, got barely any reasons at all. So I don't know if it went deeper, you know, or anything like that to come out, or if it took a different track. They said it's like lead, it just keeps on going deep, and maybe 2 inches deeper, I don't know. But
Well, just as a reminder, the work that Tom Camber is doing currently is to document these flow directions.
Yeah.
He's putting in wells
Yeah.
and measuring water table. We should have that pretty soon.
So these will be
It
refined.
might be refined, yeah. Okay, Chris, can I go back to the discussion of water pumpage and irrigation? Jen, I'm gonna put you on the spot here.
Okay.
You know what I'm gonna ask you, right? Didn't we find out recently about maybe a miscalculation of water usage? Could we talk about that for a minute? I think it's pretty
Sure.
important.
So every year when we do our ASR, annual statistic report, we have to account for the water that was withdrawn out of the ground and what has gone through meters, and you have to be within a certain percentage of what was metered versus what you withdrew according to the SCADA reports. And the last maybe a couple of years, we've been really close, like bumping up against that percentage. When we converted the billing software in February, we took a really deep dive into the meters and the way that they're set up in the database. And we knew that there was an issue in the prior billing software because there was, the real geeky part is the reader that's on the building. If it's an old style reader, it can read only 6 dials. If it's the new style reader, it can read 8 dials. 5/8, 3/4, and 1-inch meters have 7 dials. 2-inch meters have 8 dials. So there was always a multiplier, whether it was 1, 10, or 100, based on the type of meter and the type of reader. We have, I think, maybe 12 or 14 2-inch meters in the district, and we really paid a lot of attention, not that we didn't pay attention to in the old system, but we made sure that when we did the conversion, that there was no issue in reading these meters. We went out and took pictures of a lot of them. We read them several times. We had one meter that had obscene use, like 800,000 gallons of water. I'm like, that can't be right. That has to be a multiplier issue. We looked at previous usage. It is a larger home. It's a 2-inch meter. Previous years, they had used 127,000 gallons of water, so we didn't think that that was abnormal. When actuality, their usage was 1,270,000 gallons in that year. So this year, in the first 6 months of the year, they used more than 800,000 gallons of water. We went out, we met with them, we contacted caretakers, we've documented everything left and right. We've taken pictures of their meter. We found at one point they were using close to 30,000 gallons, no, 10,000 gallons a day, 30,000 in 3 days.
This is our largest water demand in the whole district, is that true?
Could be one, yeah, it's one, yeah,
And
and,
we've been underbilling them.
yeah.
And,
For the last 6
they've
years.
been up there.
For the last 6 years, we've been underbilling them. And usually they get their bill, they're gonna call all of a sudden, I'm gonna think about the last 6 years.
Anybody want to guess what the size of that bill is?
Can you go back that far? I mean, it's kind of almost state.
Right,
So the reason I wanted to bring this up is twofold. One is the advantage of our new billing procedure and Jen's good work at micro managing it, looking at it, we find issues. We found a huge one. And secondly, this could be our single largest cutback in demand. Once this person realizes that you either got to put their own well in or pay.
they
what would the
could have
bill be?
put 3 wells in.
3
for
wells.
the
Is
cost
that
of
what
this.
they're talking about? This could reduce 1 million gallons.
Yeah.
Which is-
They have 2 wells right now that are active, in each driveway they have a well, and they refuse to use them because the water's red that's coming out.
Because what, sorry?
The water's red, it's full of iron,
And our water is clear.
so.
So let's put it on the grass.
So their grass turns red, the fence turns red.
They could
The
put in-
cars there, the car turns red, everything gets hit and starts turning red.
Well,
Yeah, because it's still a giant.
this may push them to put their own water treatment system in, and if they want to spend that
If
much
they want to
water.
treat, yeah, that's right, you know, it's treat their own water. Once they get the double figure bill, let's say, and not the first double figure, the second double figure bill.
Can we disclose which property this is?
It's the largest property in Katuitt.
It is not,
It's not?
it is not. It is a home, I don't even remember the right, what address number, but it is a home on Ocean View Avenue. It is not the largest property in the district,
Wow.
and it's probably now the largest user, but the second largest user isn't even the biggest property that you're thinking of. Nor the third, because that would be the golf course.
The use has to be irrigation.
Yes, yes.
There's not, you know.
Yeah, because they shut the irrigation system off and they use 3,000 gallons in like 4 days.
Yeah,
So this could be a good step forward towards our objective of trying to.
I talked to the caretaker, he told me that they really have to water the heck out of the grass that's going down to the water, because it dries right up and turns brown if it doesn't have water.
That's because grass isn't supposed to be there.
So it's basically running off the grass into the ocean.
All right,
and
thank you, Chris. Any
And
questions?
the last thing, I'll just quickly on that, I think I have one more thing.
Yep.
That's put away, but we are out of the level 1 drum. Officially, where we were officially. Whether we go back, we'll see next month.
So I want to go back to this though.
Yep,
1,200,000 for the year. That what it was? Gallons?
yeah,
that would have been for a 6-month
6 months.
period, and that was probably in 2020.
So Grant Parks did have a good idea that we should be writing letters to some of these
the
people.
big guys, yeah.
Not just talking to caretakers, and not that the letter is necessarily going to mean anything to them, but I think we should have a paper trail. That we've reached out
That's
to
good.
this particular homeowner and said. You know, and give them these options, Scott, you know.
Yeah.
We do with this homeowner. I will say, I know we've talked about this at previous meetings, and I did network with my fellow office managers at some of the other district offices. One being at COM, who deals with the properties on Oyster Harbors. And they said they didn't care. They found the letters in the trash. They actually turned the volume of their water up.
Okay, but that's different than us having a paper trail, that if somebody came in and said. All of a sudden, I get this huge bill. Yeah, we sent you a letter.
Mhm,
We can't make you read it. We sent it to you.
mhm.
We have a copy here in our file of it.
And the
I
water
call-
rates have been published for a good amount of time, so if they wanted to do their own assessment of their costs, they could do that, right? But I think a letter is a good idea.
I mean, this is.
I do call, like when we do the bill run, we run exception reports of the larger users and I can see anybody over, I can slice and dice the data, especially now. Many different ways and I do call those.
So we are gonna send out the correct bill. So the two net effects of this are we're gonna have more money coming in. And
For this
secondly,
one property.
temporarily, and secondly, we're probably gonna get them to cut way back one way or another, which I think achieves two good objectives. We want to be, self-sufficient financially, and secondly, we want to reduce water demand, unnecessary and excessive water demand. So I think I think this is a really great step forward, and we want to, commend.
But you're not reaching back other years, are you? Can't.
I don't know what we can do. That was our mistake, right?
Right, I don't think we should. That's.
Yeah. But it's great that we caught it.
Yeah.
right? And maybe we look at the other properties that you're mentioning, and as
Yeah.
Mark suggested, maybe we do a letter to them, just, make sure they're aware.
And give them a copy of the. Well,
I might suggest also, I think it's either the natural gas company or Eversource. So they compare my usage to my neighbors
Yeah,
to give me a sense of.
That's
you're
right.
doing better
How am I
than
doing?
yours. I only get to know my water consumption accurately once a year,
yeah,
and I got a 6-figure number, and I don't know if it's a lot.
right. That's a good
Normal or
point.
a little.
That's a really good.
And I just, if it's 100,000 gallons a year and I'm normal, then I don't feel bad. But if it's,
well,
Could we,
how many people in the household? That's how you're basing it.
well, that would be, a good divider. It's just.
so couldn't we,
put in an
that's a good
average,
idea.
average
Could we add that to a water
I mean, we
bill,
have-
like when you send a bill, you're in,
Share
more
your
than
neighbor's
that.
consumption? Oh, to say whether you're more than.
Yeah, I think that's.
I don't know.
David's point.
I can ask.
The
Can you
median.
think about that? All right, I want to move on the agenda here, everybody. So, thank you, Chris.
I kind of skipped water quality there, I think, but all testing negative of bacteria, and we didn't do any extra testing on there. The sodium was done by last meeting, I believe, and the PFAS was done then. We did do some extra third quarter testing this month that we haven't got results back on. So I should have a little more for you next month. Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on. I think we've covered the source water protection with Kip Diggs here.
Just one thing on that, just so you know, also, had it written down here, I think you pulled it up, put it down, please. We're meeting, or at least Tom Canterbury is meeting out with Shane, the surveyor out for the wells.
Yep.
To take some more readings off on the water readings and everything else. I believe it's either the first or second week in August.
Okay,
So one was away on vacation and the other was, so they moved it out. So we should have a little more than that.
all right, thank you.
Yep.
And just so you know, Scott, we do have a 7 o'clock coming in behind us.
Yes, we do. I know. That's why I'm trying to move ahead here.
We can defer my stuff.
Okay, we'll defer the affordable access and under new business, I see Patty Daly's still here. Maybe I'll take up the school subcommittee next, because I think this is critical. Because we have an August 15th meeting coming up at which which I think means I as chair, has been asked to give a 10-minute update on where we stand on this issue. So I want to get the commissioner's input on this. My sense is historically, our position has been, we don't want anything to happen on that property that threatens water quality. However, as I think everybody knows, there are some other considerations on how to use this property, and my own opinion is, and has been, as I've stated here, that I think there could be some limited, carefully designed use of the property that would not threaten water quality. And one of those proposals is, there has been some discussion about fire district moving there. I don't think there's a serious proposal for that right now, my understanding. But there is some discussion about some staff moving there. Sorry,
The staff of
Staff.
the district
yes.
consolidating.
That's one possibility. The other thing that I raised with Chris is, is there any use of the property for potential future water treatment? I'm not sure there is, but we can come back to that in a minute. But then the third one is a community discussion about the possibility of a community center at the property. And Perhaps that's why Ms. Bailey is here.
Right.
So let me invite some public comment because we don't have a lot of time.
Sure, really briefly. I've been talking to some folks in the village about the possibility of reusing at least part of the building for community center use. Multi-generational, there's all kinds of stuff you could program in that building that I think would be compatible with water supply protection. Even if you put consolidate district offices in that building, it's a pretty big building. Just the cafeteria and commercial kitchen alone could be a real boon for businesses, getting together, so. Just all that to say, I hope that you would keep an open mind about a community center use there as you're planning your offices.
So my thought is, we have another public member. Carol, we just, oh, so we're just taking up the school issue. I was gonna say your timing is impeccable, but maybe better, well informed by technology. So I'd like to just make sure I have the consensus of the commissioners as to what I'm gonna report on, and that is that there is this meeting on August 15th, and what I plan to say is that I think we all need more time to think about the options. And whatever options get seriously considered, that our role would be making sure that it's compatible with any water quality considerations.
And I think there's an easy way to sort of preclude the discussion. So first of all, the meeting on the 15th is informational. There will be no vote.
Right.
And at some point, I believe Prudential Committee may conduct a special meeting of the district where I anticipate the decision will be demolish or keep it.
Right.
And what they would like to know, the Prudential Committee, is what would we be opposed to?
Right.
And I think that's spelled out by the state for zone 2 usages.
Yeah.
And I move that we basically adhere to those restrictions. But further, our fellow member, former chairman, wrote a very comprehensive conservation restriction on the town's portion. And I think on reviewing that, it wouldn't hurt to apply that to this property as well with some modifications. Deleting the prohibition of any municipal or community uses, but keeping the rest of it. I got a copy of it.
Yeah, well, that was dealing more with, vacant land, used recreational as opposed to a building. But obviously, if you demolish the building, the conservation restriction would be appropriate. I don't think it's worth doing if you're going to keep that size of a building on that size of a lot. Other than the fact that we also are acquiring the woods, which is a beautiful pine woods. It's always been nice pine woods there.
But there are some other considerations that they've removed the underground oil tank, so that if heating is ever restored there, we have a preference that the district not put oil back in
Yeah, and
underground.
that could be a condition.
And
I think that's for sure.
recommend natural gas
Yes,
or electric, et cetera. And there was one other consideration. I think the firehouse is off the table, but the fire commissioners will, I think on the 15th, declare that
I think so.
You think it's off the table?
off the table. Yeah.
Wow.
I think largely because of the expense involved and trying to figure out what to do with the space that they acquired next to the existing bay. What other concerns were raised?
Well, I mean, the fire thing is,
So septic.
they have the wash down of the trucks. You'd have to collect that in a holding tank and pump it out regularly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't know where the septic is located on the property and where the leaching field is and what condition it is in, but if one's replaced, I think we should come in with a point of view about what technology should be used, especially given since Station 3 seems to have a past history, I don't know, recent history of coliform pits, and looks to be at least the most crowded of our water sources.
Yeah, and I think, I like your idea of conditions, and one condition could be, whatever wastewater system needs to go along with that would have to not conform with the minimum state requirements, but this map does show that a large part of the property is outside of the contributing area of the well. So it's possible we could relocate it and also provide, state-of-the-art treatment and do some other things to really minimize. So I think there are some conditions and standards we could put on it that would really minimize that impact.
And I think that will come up in a demolition versus debate of, well, if we keep it, what will need to be invested into it? And obviously, if they want it year round, they've got to reheat it.
Yeah.
But the septic, I have no idea what type of septic system or the capacity it had when it was school. I think there was 100 students and maybe 10 teachers there every day.
So it obviously not have to be that big.
Yeah, I think the original thought was this could have been housing, which would be a very high intensity use.
Right.
Whereas, more of an institutional use of the community center, I think your wastewater flows would be substantially less. And I think you could also install the types of systems that would, again, provide better treatment than a typical residential development. That's my sense. Carol?
Thank you for letting me speak. I haven't heard this mentioned tonight. Why don't you guys consider moving the water department to this building or a portion of the building? And even if some of it's, broken, demolished in other parts, I mean, why it's a very small building over on 28. This would afford you a lot more space. And I just think it's also something that you should be considering, whether it's a dual purpose, the water department is there and a community center or portions or whatever. It still should be looked at before, because everybody that goes through there says, wow, this building's in really good shape. So I just would like.
It's a good point.
about that.
A past commission apparently stated the preference not to move. We do store chemicals at that location that I don't think it'd be comfortable putting on the school property.
Right, we have a central batching facility there that we run the whole thing, the building behind, the little building in the front. All we do in the little building in the front is an office, basically. The stuff in the back is what runs the water. That's where we are every day pumping out. We would have to physically separate them that way. I mean, the only way to change it would be to put offices over there for Jen. And then the other guys would be on their own and do what they want to do all day, or whatever, they couldn't need that area. We couldn't have an office for them over there too. It's just, the way it's set up is we put everything into that corner to work from there. To move that plant would be awful expensive.
But now is the time to think about all that, not, you want to be thinking 5 to 10 years from now. Yeah, I understand it works how it is, but this is the opportunity to really consider, is this building something that we could move to? It would improve services, it would improve whatever, just like the fire department has had to do. What are our space needs now? What are our space needs going to be? What if we have to do a water treatment facility? Would that water treatment facility be on 28, or would it be better by the 12? So I mean, those are the thoughts that I haven't heard the previous commission or you guys talk about yet. And I just think that it's would be a worthwhile discussion. I understand it works where it is and nobody likes to move and all that kind of stuff, but just I want you to be able to think 5, 10 years out.
It's the way we've always done it.
Exactly.
Well, on the water treatment, I believe that the Tava and Howard studies recommended putting it between 1, 2, and 3.
The treatment facility would have to be as close to the pumping stations to keep everything as the sewer project that's going on now. We don't want to have to put the transmission main running from one area to the other. You want to keep it as close as you can to that well field in there. That's not going to happen at the school, but we're not going to be able to put treatment at the school or what we have now is treatment that we do at a facility and truck over the ground. So if we were ever to put a treatment facility in there, maybe everything would be switched into that treatment facility. Between corrosion control, disinfection, iron and manganese removal, PFAS and nitrate removal, all that might be put into one building. And at that point, maybe, yes, that would be, at that point, we could move it and you wouldn't have to worry about it.
So Chris, is it the batching and,
Yeah, the line batching facility,
So-
sales, storage.
but is that just a, once a morning thing, or do they have to come back multiple times through the
In
day?
the summertime, we're tracking stuff every day, just about to a different pump station.
But more than once a day? In other words, could that just be part of their rounds? They report to the office at the school and then get their marching orders for the day, and then they go and do the batching at the old facility or something?
It would have to move the entire SCADA system too. We'd have to move the fiber optics at the same time, that's involved in this. So, yeah, I mean, I guess it can, but we just spent how many thousands of dollars to put all that SCADA system, the fiber optic there to get everything going. Yeah,
Well, the state would probably have problems with materials stored if we move the was it sodium hypochlorite?
yeah.
If we move that to into zone 2. One thing of interest, though, is that there was a Patuit district facility needs study dated April 21st from Catalyst Architecture, and it says additionally, it's been determined that the office space currently housing the district water department personnel does not meet OSHA requirements. The water department recognizes the need for more up-to-date space to meet their operational and OSHA requirements. I don't know what.
We're
where
not
falling short.
handicap accessible,
Yeah,
Handicap accessibility, so it's ADA, not OSHA.
I believe so.
OSHA's for the employees.
yeah, the back door that's there, she opened up into the platform.
Yeah,
That's why it says employees only, everything on it. Yeah, instead of opening up to a staircase.
okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm wondering if for the purpose of this upcoming couple of meetings, we could include that in our report, that this is something we need to look into. As you said, Carol, it's not something we're talking about this year or next year, but a long-term plan. It's talking about tearing down a building like that one, which is pretty substantial. And people that I've talked to say it has good bones and it's likely could be there for a very long time with some maintenance. It strikes me, why tear it down for a variety of reasons if in fact there are some legitimate potential uses. So I think my sense is, unless the commissioners disagree with me, that we should state that, we need some more time to think about potential uses, not only including the community center, but also including some of the civic uses.
Well, I think from our purpose here, though, we need to come up with a pros and cons list of why is it preferred to stay where we are? Why would it be good to move? What are the drawbacks of each? We can't assign costs necessarily, that's somebody else's job, but we could at least show the district voters that, we are thinking about it. We're not dismissing it out of hand,
Right.
which I think is kind of what we've been doing in the last year.
So are we suggesting some study of that analysis?
Well, I think we can come up with it on our own.
Yeah,
Just brainstorming the pros and cons. I mean, we've done some of it tonight.
So
Just
how
putting it
about,
on paper so other people can have access. to it.
so why don't we put that on the agenda for a future meeting and then I can report on the 15th that we're gonna do that.
We could almost do it.
We can't do it now.
No, but we could do it before the 15th. Yeah, we said that.
We're not gonna meet before the 15th.
Right, that's fine. I'd like to leave tonight with at least some agreement on what we're gonna tell
Why don't we ask, Commissioner Turbuck, who's got the best handle on this, and it's not me, to work with the staff to come up with some pros and cons. Just in terms of practicalities involved, so that, people say, well, why can't they just move? It's just office stuff. They can move that. There's fiber optics elsewhere in the building right now. So, well, it can, but it also involves all these other
Sure, there's
considerations that are operational considerations. And maybe that offsets the lack of ADA compliance and whatever else. But I think that we could put together something that shows that we're being responsive to inquiry.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Dave, you willing to do some of that?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And
Well, why
do
don't we?
you need a copy of the space needs study that was done in 2019 or whatever, where they were looking into the office space needs for the finance department? And then they went
I think
through
we've got that. Is that this
to
one?
develop the building for the fire department.
I've got the fire department report, and I've got this one dated the 21st, April 12th, 2021. There's another school assessment report I can't find from Habib Architects, which talks about the actual condition and the presence of hazardous materials. I need to grab that.
We saw that at one point.
I mean, I think it's.
Chief Rude
This
has,
is the things that the community will want to hear from the water commissioners. If you look at the use of it, you look at the, you know, blah, blah, blah. The fire commissioners, I believe, are meeting a special meeting next week, like a workshop, like you guys have done in the past, to make sure, you know, where they're at, because it's been a short time. I mean, you guys are giving this task like a week ago, maybe after the prudential meeting on the 17th. So, I mean, the hope of the August 15th meeting is that the Prudential Committee will hear from the community that we'd like to have more time to look into all these things versus rushing into a decision. That would be an ideal outcome.
Why don't we have a Zoom meeting just to address a vote on Dave's draft? How's that? So that
Before the
so
15th,
people will know it's not just Dave's idea, it's the commission.
I'm fine with that.
No, that's
And
none taken.
I drafted a motion, I'll share with you
Okay.
guys, which is non-committal about the future of it. But does say, if you go this way, if you demolish, make sure you adhere to all hazardous, material mitigation, et cetera.
Yeah.
And if you keep natural gas or an alternative to heating oil, and then an adoption of a lot of the conservation restrictions for the other parts. And then as far as what are unacceptable uses, and I think that's what might come up on the 15th, is what can't they do there? That is going to be, requires some more thought, but I think above all are the state regulations, 310 CMR, and their list of everything from sludge to
Right,
gases.
yep. Agreed.
And I'm surprised, actually, you can do a lot of those things in zone two, as long as you want to take some required steps.
And we have the right and perhaps responsibility to be more restrictive than those state regulations. My own opinion would be, but I agree with you. I've always been surprised at what is allowed in a drinking water area. So I think we can be more restrictive.
Well, I mean, I only saw Station 3 for the first time on Friday. When the superintendent finally took me back there, and I was amazed. I was just amazed. Talk about secret gratuity, but now we know where all the turkeys live. But it's, it's in the middle, it's in a lot of backyards.
So do we need a motion here or I think Commissioner Robinson's idea is a good one. We can, if Dave's willing to do a little research on this and meet with staff maybe and
I've
talk
already
about some of the
detailed
details.
homework.
Have a meeting, a Zoom
Yeah,
meeting.
just a Zoom meeting to approve the memo.
you have
So
a target date you want for that?
The 14th.
The 14th, Monday, the 14th? All right. Put this in your calendar. Don't schedule anything else.
okay, that sounds great. And then Dave, I guess we should decide, maybe we do at that time, but who gives the report? I mean, I'm certainly willing to
Well,
let you.
I think we're all planning to go.
Okay, so the joint report.
Yeah, we can have copies available.
Okay. So August 14th, we'll continue this discussion. We need to get out of the room.
Yes.
So I think with that, I will entertain a motion.
No, we need two quick
Okay.
things first. One, I just need to draw your attention to the the final lien list, as I will be.
Hi, guys. Excuse me.
That's okay, I will be presenting the warrant for signature at the August meeting, so I have to say that I put the second and
Okay.
final lien list in front of you. And we need a date for the next meeting, other than 8/14, the regular meeting, because I know I already have 2 week adjustment requests for that meeting.
Well, couldn't we make the 8/14 meeting, run meeting?
You can?
We'll do that.
Okay.
Good, good.
on this meeting, yeah.
That works for you?
It's coming up quick. Well, it's all right.
So 8:14.
Oh, we delayed it, July. It's the- Thank you for doing that.
Yep.
What is the 14th?
It's a Monday night.
Hope that's not there, man.
Right.
It took me 8 months to get it.
Yes, because the 16th would be a regular meeting, so 8:14 will be the regular meeting at 5:45, Zoom only, right? Are we saying Zoom only on Monday, the 14th?
Oh, no, I was thinking we'd just be in and out, we do it on Zoom, but if we're gonna have a real meeting, we should do it in person.
Or hybrid.
No, hybrid doesn't work.
Did you hear it okay?
Hybrid works, need to get a little bit closer, hybrid works.
We
It's the
would-
periphery, right?
Yeah, the four of you were wonderful.
The last prudential,
Shuffling up the papers doesn't help, but if you could get closer, it's good.
If we made this maybe more of a square. you think would work, or, you know, instead of looking for chairs, together we sat around, second, like a circle square.
All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.
The Boy Scouts are in here on Monday nights at 5:00. For you, Jen.
What is it?
The Boy Scouts are in here on Monday nights at 5:00.
We go downstairs.